tsunami advisory in effect for California as waves hit Tonga following volcanic eruption. An underwater volcano in the South Pacific erupted violently on Saturday, causing tsunamis to hit Hawaii, Japan, and Tonga's largest island, Tongatapu, sending waves flooding into the capital. The Tonga-Hunga Ha'apai volcano, about 30 kilometers, 18.6 miles, southeast of Tonga's Fanuafo'o Island, first erupted on Friday and a second time on Saturday around 5:26 p.m. local time, according to CNN affiliate Radio New Zealand, RNZ. The eruption sent a plume of ash and gas steam 20 kilometers, 12.4 miles, into the air, according to RNZ. Satellite imagery showed a massive ash cloud and shockwaves spreading from the eruption. Ash was falling from the sky in the Tonga capital, Nuku'alofa, Saturday evening and phone connections were down. The eruption caused a severe tsunami on Tongatapu, where the capital is located, with waves flowing onto coastal roads and flooding properties on Saturday. Residents fled for higher ground as waves swept the waterfront, Main Street and grounds of Tonga's Royal Palace, according to RNZ. Though it was early evening, videos show the sky already dark from the ash cloud. Tonga's King Tupou VI was evacuated from the palace, RNZ said, citing local media reports of a convoy of police and troops rushing the monarch to a villa at Matakiua. The eruption also had effects across the Pacific, as tsunami warnings and advisories were issued from parts of New Zealand and Japan to the United States and Canada's British Columbia. Per the National Weather Service, a tsunami warning means those nearby should get inland or seek higher ground immediately, while an advisory means they should stay away from the shore and out of the water. Japan's meteorological agency issued a tsunami advisory for the country's coastal areas early Sunday morning, with the northeastern prefecture of Iwate seeing waves as high as 2.7 meters, 9 feet. Multiple smaller tsunamis were reported in numerous other locations, according to public broadcaster NHK. Japan's Coast Guard was out assessing damage, but so far none had been reported, NHK said, noting it was still dark and more waves were expected. Officials continued to ask people to stay alert and away from beaches. Japan's meteorological agency issued a tsunami warning for the southern Amami Island and Takara Island chain in Kagoshima Prefecture and a tsunami advisory for all coastal areas facing the Pacific Ocean, NHK reported. The agency later issued another tsunami warning for Iwate. Footage shared on NHK from a viewer in Setachi Town, on Amami Oshima Island, showed bumper-to-bumper traffic as cars evacuated to higher ground. Other footage showed people sleeping on floors in evacuation centers in Iwate. Elsewhere, Australia's Bureau of Meteorology said it recorded a tsunami wave of 1.2 meters, about 4 feet, near Nuku'alofa at 5:30 p.m. local time on Saturday. And the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center said tsunami waves of 2.7 feet, 0.8 meters, were observed by gauges at Nuku'alofa and waves of 2 feet at Pago Pago, the capital of American Samoa, Reuters reported. The nearby island of Fiji also issued a public advisory asking people living in low-lying coastal areas to move to safety in anticipation of the strong currents and dangerous waves. Footage from the ground shows people fleeing to higher ground in Suva, the capital of Fiji, as large waves hit the coast. In Samoa, another Pacific island nation, a tsunami watch is in effect for all low-lying coastal areas, the Samoa Meteorological Service said, with residents and visitors advised to stay away from beach areas. An earlier tsunami advisory for the Pacific island nation of Vanuatu was discontinued, with the country's National Disaster Management issuing an all-clear. The office had earlier advised residents to move away from the coastline and seek higher ground. The eruption also sent waves to the U.S. West Coast, with some exceeding 3 and 4 feet in height, according to the National Weather Service office in San Diego. The highest waves recorded were in Port San Luis, California, 4.3 feet, King Cove, Alaska, 3.3 feet, Area Cove, California, 3.7 feet, Crescent City, California, 3.7 feet, and Port Reyes, California, 2.9 feet. The first tsunami waves were felt on the west coast early Saturday morning, according to Dave Snyder, the tsunami warning coordinator at the National Weather Service's National Tsunami Warning Center in Palmer, Alaska. A wave as high as 1.2 feet had been observed in Nikolsky, Alaska, he told CNN via telephone, while waves as tall as 1 foot were observed in Atka, Adak and King Cove, Alaska. This may not be the largest wave as this is coming in yet, Snyder told CNN, saying the event was not over.